Well, hello. Welcome to another edition of CannaSphere Live, coming to you live from Johannesburg and all across the country. We bring this to you every single week, where we give you some insights and some knowledge into this crazy new industry that is coming online super fast. We're going to be crossing over to Noxy, who's going to give us 5 tips to finding a good dispensary. Jeff is going to be talking about Hempcrete. Dr. Gallow is going to be talking about menopause and cannabis. And Cuban Zulu is going to be talking about how to folio spray your cannabis, nutrient feeds, and your pest management. So lots of things coming up in today's show. My compadre, Linda Siboto, and producer, is still not so well with his throat. So I'm going to do the headlines before Brett comes in. So first of all, the private cannabis bill is due before Parliament soon. It's supposed to be this month, so I'm really hoping that moves this month, guys. Make it happen. Gauteng cannabis projects are on hold until new law is passed. So Brett will unpack that. Zimbabwe opens up a domestic CBD market. Go Zimbabwe. And US to push for Britney Grines' release despite a 9-year jail sentence. Not a good time for cannabis in terms of the legal system that's happening in the States and that side as well. Anyway, over to you, Brett, in Limpopo.
Welcome to the CannaSphere News Desk in Limpopo, where it feels like spring has come prematurely in the green hills here in the escarpment. Making CannaSphere news this week, Gauteng-based cannabis cultivator Cannabis appears to be the local business hardest hit in the wake of the sudden and dramatic collapse of international crowdfunding platform Juicy Fields. Cannabis lost 3.6 million rand after Juicy Fields founder Alan Glance promised to invest in the SAPRA licensed grow-up and persuaded it to buy equipment, saying of course it would be repaid. Cannabis was brought to its knees, according to director Nicholas Burr, when the money failed to materialize and Glance vanished off the face of the earth. Juicy Fields also pulled out of its Durban Expo sponsorship at the 11th hour last month, leaving organizers frustrated, as it had sponsored the previous 2 expos in Cape Town and Gauteng. It had used those events to actively market its crowdfunding platform to South Africans. And the million-dollar question is, how many local punters were among the 300 or 1,000 or so international investors who were fleeced of an estimated 8.6 billion rand by Juicy Fields? That's the current estimation of how much money disappeared right now, 8.6 billion rand. The controversial Cannabis for Private Purposes bill is due to raise its head in Parliament this month, although it has not yet appeared on any parliamentary committee schedules. Senior State Law Advisor Sarah Robertson was given 3 months to fix the fatal defects in the proposed law, which will govern the personal consumption of cannabis in private spaces. The big issue facing lawmakers is how to allow for the future commercial trade in cannabis, which is at the core of the National Cannabis Master Plan. That's for private spaces. On the public space front, the Gauteng government says several industrial cannabis projects are in the pipeline at a number of locations in the province. Gauteng Agricultural MEC Parks Tau told SABC recently that he was excited about the prospects of developing the hemp economy, but that nothing could be fully got on board until the right laws are in place.
There's great potential, and I think that it has huge potential with regards to not just cultivation, but also the industrialization component. There are opportunities with regards to the production of hempcrete for building purposes, hemp-related paint, and other additional products that are available in the market. And the more you do research, the more you realize how much this plant gives us a great opportunity for industrialization.
That's Gauteng Agricultural MEC Parks Tau. Across the Limpopo River, just up here in Zimbabwe, there's been a significant development. The country is to open up the domestic market to hemp and CBD products in a bid to rejuvenate its battered economy. Zimbabwe's Medicines Control Authority has invited applications from the local cannabis industry to supply low THC products for the local market. Up to now, licensed cannabis cultivation in Zim has been for export only. General adult use still remains illegal. And in international news, there's been outrage and dismay at the 9-year sentence handed down by a Moscow court last week to US basketball star Britney Griner. She pleaded guilty to possession of a minor amount of cannabis and was sentenced to a harsh 9 years in prison. These comments from Britney after her sentencing are courtesy of The Guardian.
pled guilty to my charges. I understand everything that's being said against me, the charges that are against me, and that is why I pled guilty. I apologize to my teammates, my club, Gemka, the fans, and the city of ECAT for my mistake that I made and the embarrassment that I brought onto them.
Meanwhile, the White House says the US will continue to press for Griner's release, and the talk of a prisoner swap is not off the table.
We want to see Brittany Griner home. We want to see Paul Whelan home. They are wrongfully detained. We have been very clear about that. We put forward a substantial offer, and we want to have a good faith conversation on that.
That's it from the CannaSphere News Desk this week. Trenton, imagine how bad it must be to be in a Russian penal colony, but imagine being a 6'9" Olympian athlete and being confined to small spaces on what really are trumped-up charges. It gives me the thrills, as it were.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to say I like there might be discussion about a prisoner exchange. There are discussions about prisoner exchange, which are also just as abominable as the act or the way that she's been tracked itself, you know. And there's been a lot of call out from a lot of American people going, well, guys, you know, this is a person going to jail, but hang on a second, we have thousands of people in jail right now in America for cannabis consumption, you know. So it's completely ridiculous, you know. I think it's just embarrassing actually what the Russians are doing in terms of they're making this really firm cannabis statement, and just in terms of the way the Americans are still dealing with it. I mean, they've had legal cannabis for how long, and they've still got people in jail. It's shocking. I mean, I think it was it last week or the week before last, there was actually somebody in Singapore who was executed for cannabis. You know, I mean, this is just completely insane. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
And the absurdity happens at another level as well, Trenton, because the Russians want to swap Brittany Griner for an arms dealer, for somebody who's a mass murderer. And so there's this crazy cosmic equation that's weighing up as to what is worth on this side as the value on that side. And that opens up another whole level of discussion and debate.
Yeah, completely. And just finally, before we go to Noxy, just this cannabis bill, yeah, let's see if they actually get it together. But they got to move it, guys. We've got to move. So that'll be interesting to see if they actually hit the deadline, considering you said it's not even tabled or booked in yet.
Yeah. If they get the logic into the bill, it'll happen pretty quickly. Right now, though, it's at the last hearing, it failed constitutional muster, and that's just a no-starter if they want to get it out this year. So let's hold thumbs. I'm on your side.
Absolutely. Brett, we'll see you just now. Right now, we're going to cross over to Noxy, who's going to talk about 5 quick tips for finding a good dispensary in your neighborhood.
Hello and welcome back to the CannaSphere Lifestyle News Desk with me, the Kush Queen, bringing you all things lifestyle, art and entertainment in the CannaSphere, broadcasting live from my vehicle today. Now, whether you are someone who uses cannabis for responsible adult or medical use, you will have to choose a dispensary that is going to fulfill your requirements at some point. You'll have to find one that meets specific criteria so that you're certain that you don't choose one that's going to drain all your hard-earned randellas, especially in this economic climate. You want to look for a dispensary that gives you the most money when purchasing your cannabis. Now, that's why we've rounded up 5 quick tips for finding a good dispensary. At number 1, you want to check out the quality. Now, there are various strains available in the marketplace with different levels of CBD and THC. Geneticists and growers are developing new strains on a daily. So what you want to do is choose a dispensary that is going to offer you various selections, but most importantly, one that isn't going to sacrifice on quality. Because quality cannabis is going to deliver the best experience every time. So that's exactly what you want. You want it to smell good and you want it to look good. Okay. Number 2, location. You won't want to spend time traveling hours if you don't need to. Like, try and choose a location that makes sense to you. Either it's close to your work, or it's close to where you live, or where you drop off your kids, and whatever works for you. But also don't choose a dispensary just based on location. I mean, there are so many other important factors to consider, which we'll delve into as we continue with this list. But go on and Google and search cannabis dispensary near me, and a lot of options will actually pop up. I had quite a few pop up while I was doing research for this piece. So yeah, that's a tip that works. Just make sure that the establishment has some sort of proof that they're indeed allowed to do what they do. Everything is above board and everything is legal. And if it is a registered establishment, they should be able to show you those papers. At number 3, you want to make sure that there's a bud tender at the dispensary. It's so important to find a dispensary that has knowledgeable and friendly staff who are willing to help and to advise you and answer your questions. You want to make sure that your bud tender has great customer service, is patient in helping you figure out what's right for you. Inexperienced bud tenders can also ruin what could be a positive cannabis experience for you. So that is why having the right dispensary with the right bud tender is so important. At number 4, feedback. Like, you want to look at different dispensaries nearby to ensure that you can find one that has a lot of positive feedback. I mean, obviously no place is going to be 100% perfect. You might find an odd negative comment here or there, as long as it's not like a common thread in most of the online comments and the feedback that you read. And if it is like a decent dispensary, there should be some kind of online place to find them. Like, come on. Look for ones with lots of positive feedback, which should help you filter down to the potential right choice. And last but not least, at number 5, you definitely want to check out the forms of cannabis that are available. People have different ways that they like to consume their cannabis. You want to find a dispensary that provides different consumption methods, including infused cannabis, edibles, CBD oils, and even topicals. I mean, this will only give you a larger selection to choose from if you have a preference or if you're open to just exploring. And that's it from me for this week, guys. Until next week, peace, love.
Thanks, Noxy. There you have it. And the thing to remember in South Africa is we only have very, very few dispensaries at the moment. We have cannabis clubs which you can join, which effectively are like dispensaries, but what you've got to make sure is if you're going there to try and get something for you in a medicinal way, you've got to make sure that the people working behind the counter actually know what they're doing when it comes to using cannabis for anything other than sort of responsible adult use. So make sure you do your research. Right now, I want to cross over to Jeff, who's going to talk about Hempcrete. Now, hemp at the moment is a massive conversation in our country, and Hempcrete is something we can make here in South Africa with relative ease and use the plants that we're about to put in the ground. Take it away, Jeff. Hempcrete, over to you.
Now on CannaSphere, we love to discuss the medical benefits of cannabis as well as the general benefits if used responsibly as an adult. But today we're going to spotlight the benefits of hemp. And I think this needs to be highlighted more. So I'm going to show you a quick video highlighting the industrial hemp applications. Now, hemp has got easily 25,000 uses, from rope all the way to its use as a feed substitute for livestock and humans, medicines, in ropes, sails, clothing. Even the Declaration of Independence was signed on hemp paper. So with all these applications, let's focus on Hempcrete. Now, where's hemp derived from? Well, essentially this derives from fields, and you can see that these cultivars are significantly taller and high off the ground and really focused on production of fiber, where decortication facilities would strip these fibers and use that as an input material in the hemp industry. So today, there's a lot of applications we can talk about, but let's tackle Hempcrete. Now, essentially, what is Hempcrete? Well, that's making use of the fiber and the materials when it's often mixed with lime or a supporting binder to solidify and form what is known as this Hempcrete concrete type mix. And that can be used to start to fill out housings. Now, the important thing to remember is that it's not as structural as concrete, which means it needs additional support. So whether those supports are steel bars, whether they are wooden bars, or whether they're some kind of supporting plastic, this really allows hemp to be used effectively in building constructions, and with a need for RDP housings, this is definitely something that should be pushed. Regarding Hempcrete, we even saw one of the tallest buildings in the Southern Hemisphere constructed in Cape Town, making use of hemp input materials and hempcrete. And this is fantastic. I mean, South Africa really is in a position now to define the infrastructure around supporting the hemp industry, considering permits were permitted from the end of October last year for commercial cultivation. Really exciting times. It's a fantastic building material with a lifespan of well over 100 years. And on that point, Trenton, back to you in the studio.
I've actually been to that hotel in Cape Town. It's really amazing. I mean, obviously, when I was there, it was still a construction site, but it's really amazing. I mean, we're building, one of the highest buildings in the world using hemp, so which is fantastic. So very excited. We'll bring you more up-to-date news on things happening in the hemp space because it is something that's coming online very fast. Right, let's cross over to Dr. Gallow, who is going to be talking about cannabis and menopause. Over to you.
Hi, good day everybody, and a happy Women's Day to all. Last week the beautiful Dr. Carmen spoke to you about menstrual pain and cannabis. Today, seeing that it's Women's Month, I'm going to talk to you about menopause and medical cannabis. Firstly, menopause is not an illness. It's simply a transition in a woman's life. Menopause is the time that marks the end of your menstrual cycle. The menopause transition is marked by hormonal changes in women. You can experience a fluctuation in the level of hormones such as your cortisol, prolactin, and even your estrogen. During menopause, the estrogen, which is the primary female sex hormone, gets affected the most, and any changes in the level can actually affect the body. So when the phytocannabinoids from the cannabis plants interact with your endocannabinoid system, it may also help regulate the hormonal imbalance in your body. This, of course, works depending on each person individually. So what we have found that CBD has the ability to provide relief for women who suffer from hormonal imbalances. A small-scale study has indicated that CBD may help to regulate the secretion of one of our stress-activating hormones, which is our cortisol. The main symptoms of menopause are your hot flushes, your mood swings, insomnia, loss of libido, sexual discomforts, restless legs, and pain. Pain can also be quite common when you're going through menopause. Headaches, joint pains, inflammations, breast pain, and so much more are associated to menopause. We have treated many patients with menopause, and the medical cannabis was actually able to relieve these symptoms. In fact, none of these patients needed HRT, which stands for hormonal replacement therapy, and the side effects of HRT is really bad. And as I mentioned, it's not a disease, it's a transition, and if you can manage it with natural medicines, that's actually great. So what we found is for hot flushes, mood swings, and loss of libido, CBD was able to alleviate these symptoms. Patients who suffered with restless legs, insomnia, and pain required both CBD and THC. Most were treated with a 2-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC. So guys, as you can see, cannabis definitely will help with the menopause and the symptoms. And if you need more information, you can chat to us or get more information. There's lots of scholarly articles as well. Back to you, Trenton. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, Dr. Gallo. It just shows you every single week we have new things we can tell you about in every single part of the industry. It's just so deep. We can keep going for days. We're on episode 49 now, and we don't have an issue trying to find content. That's how beautifully deep and crazy this industry is. Anyway, let's go to another section of the industry, which is about growing. For those of you who are interested in growing season is almost upon us. And if you want to take a look at how to do it, you can check out some courses on Cheeba Cannabis Academy. But you can also listen to Cuban Zulu, who will tell you each week in the section he's about to do different things you can do to help your plants grow. Today he's going to talk about how to folio spray your cannabis. He's going to talk about nutrient feed and pest management. Over to you, Cuban.
Hello cannabis community, welcome to CannaSphere's Grow Desk on a very happy Women's Day. Today I want to discuss foliar spraying your cannabis plants. The difference between spraying for nutrients and IPM. IPM would be your organic pesticide. So when you're spraying nutrients, you literally want to just give the plants a blanket of mist on top so that they can suck in that feed through the leaf stomatas. The reasons you'd be doing this is to boost growth on the top of the plant, and also in case of a situation where you have a minor deficiency because at your root zone you're not getting the right amount of uptake of nutrients, then you just want to, counter that with giving the plant the same nutrients it would get in the root zone, but on top. When you're spraying pest management, it's a completely different thing. You want to actually, you're trying to clean your plant off and to leave somewhat of a residue to block any pests coming that would want to come and prey on your beautiful cannabis plant. So when it comes to pest management, you are literally trying to drench the plant, and you're spraying on top of the leaves, underneath the leaves, and even your stem. That's different to your nutrients, whereby you would just be spraying on top of the leaves. When you want to spray your regardless of nutrients or pest management, you want to spray at a time of the day when your light exposure, the light intensity is least intense. So this would be early in the morning or late afternoon. And finally, just take into account the reasons you're spraying. Pest management, you're spraying because you're either preventing or you're mitigating, and nutrients, you're spraying because you're basically trying to boost growth on the top of your plant. Thank you, and over to you, Trenton.
Thanks, Cuban Zulu. If you're interested in growing, please check out Cheeba Cannabis Academy for all kinds of courses around the growing space. Season is upon us for those of you who want to grow outdoors. So it's very exciting. Just get some seeds, pour them in, and give it a bash. It's not as hard as it looks, especially if you're going outdoor. Right, let's cross over back to Brett. What do you think? Have you put any seeds in the ground yet, Brett?
I'm about to. You triggered me last week, Trenton, when you asked me what my preparations for the season were, and you caught me on the back foot. So now we're starting to get, we're going to grow outdoor and semi-indoor. And because we're in such a humid area, the whole thing about humidity is a big thing for me. And so I'm looking at local land races here, the Volkberg land race, maybe to plant. And I hope this will be a better season than last, which was a bit of a wipeout because of hail and mold.
Yeah, I was given these when I was in Lesotho recently. This is a bunch of sort of, as we'd say, bag seed. It's just a whole lot of landrace seed, but we have no idea what they are. And so I sometimes think, there's something beautiful in just scattering and seeing what you get, but there's also another side about wanting to know what you get, because then you can replicate it. So it's kind of a bit of a lucky packet.
And what's exciting, Trenton, is that we're on the verge of actually discovering our own genetics. There are all sorts of initiatives happening around the country with the Agricultural Research Council, the CSIR, commercial seed banks like Green Smoke Room and others, who are all starting to say, what is it that we're sitting on here? And when you start thinking, there are 15 variants of THC that we kind of know about at a common level. There's a lot of scientific progress that I think that South Africa, if we get it right, and that's a terrible caveat to put in all the time, but if we get it right, we could be a world leader in this industry. And it breaks my heart to see us fumbling with the opportunities.
Yeah, without a doubt, I feel exactly the same. On that positive note, we do love this industry and we know it's coming online. It's just very frustrating sometimes. This program is brought to you by Cheeba Cannabis Academy and Cannabiz Africa. If you want to know more about the industry, check out both of those and follow us on Cheeba Cannabis TV. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching it on TV, check out when you're next online. This brings you everything to do with this industry that is growing in a beautiful, crazy way. Until next time, Brett, thank you. We'll see you same time, same place next week. We're out.
Cheers.
Ciao.